Hey, so remember that report on Danish-UK trade, the one you sent over from Denmark's foreign ministry?
Yeah.
On the surface, pretty dense. Well, okay, really dense. But you were curious about what it said about how things are going between Denmark and the UK, especially after Brexit.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, like, are they best buddies now or what? Well, the numbers tell a pretty wild story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing that jumps out is that Danish exports to the UK just exploded in 2023.
Yeah, that's the thing that got me too. It wasn't just a little jump. We're talking a 75.8% increase compared to the year before.
Right. That's massive.
Yeah, 75.8%. That's like real growth. So what's the reason? Is it just Brexit finally shaking out, or is there something more to it?
Well, it's probably a bit of a mixed bag, to be honest. You've got those post-Brexit adjustments for sure, but there's also the whole global economy kind of finding its feet after the pandemic.
Right, right.
And then you could also have some specific things that Denmark's supplying that the UK just happens to need right now that they're demanding.
Huh.
It's hard to stay without digging a bit deeper, but it's a good reminder that these trade numbers, they're never really simple.
Right.
They reflect this whole web of stuff going on beneath the surface.
It's like those magic eye posters, just a jumble, and then bam, bam, you see the hidden picture.
Exactly.
So in this jumble of trade data, one thing that pops out is that pharmaceuticals were Denmark's top export to the UK in 2023. You know, I take an aspirin sometimes for headaches, but I never thought about it as like a major international trade thing. What makes Danish medicine so special?
Well, Denmark's got a really, really strong life sciences sector. It's really impressive, actually.
Yeah.
And they've got this whole ecosystem, government support, a highly skilled workforce, and they specialize in some very particular areas within pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just luck. This is something they've built up over time.
So they're good at it. And maybe at the time, the UK needed what they were making.
Right. It could be pointing to the UK needing to diversify its pharmaceutical sources after Brexit. Or it could even be as simple as them having the right medicines at the right price when the UK needed them.
Okay.
It's like finding that perfect vintage record.
Yeah.
It's quality and timing.
Right, yeah.
Again, we'd need more info to pinpoint the exact reason.
So that's meds. But here's another thing that surprised me. The report shows Denmark both exporting A&D, importing tons of crude oil and related products to and from the UK.
Right.
Why would they do that? Wouldn't it be simpler for each country to just produce what they need?
You'd think so, right? But it shows how interconnected global trade really is.
Yeah.
Countries often specialize in different parts of a complex supply chain.
Okay.
It's like, imagine a car factory.
Right.
You got different teams that specialize in the engine, the transmission, electronics, you name it. International trade is kind of like that, just on a much, much larger scale.
So each country's got their own specialty in this global factory.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Denmark's got that niche in pharmaceuticals. It's all about playing to your strengths, right?
Yeah.
But speaking of strength, the report also mentioned that Denmark's invested a ton of money, like 262 billion Danish krone directly into the UK.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because this is all happening after Brexit, right?
Right.
You'd think there'd be at least a little hesitation there.
And that's what makes it so interesting. It really suggests a lot of confidence in the UK market, even with all the changes Brexit brought.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. 262 billion krone is no small amount of money.
No, definitely not. That's a serious chunk of change.
Right. So to me, that says Danish businesses are seeing some long-term potential in the UK, even with all the, well, the initial uncertainties.
Yeah, for sure. So what's attracting them? Is it just like good deals on fish and chips?
Well, I'm sure those don't hurt. But really, it probably comes down to a few things. Certain industries in the UK might be really appealing to Danish investors.
Yeah.
Maybe there's some synergy there,
Right.
Or it could be that it's just easier to do business with the UK than some other places, even after Brexit.
Yeah.
Don't forget about the power of familiarity, shared history, all that it plays a role in business too.
For sure. Those relationships don't just vanish overnight. But here's the thing. While 2023 looked like a boom time for Danish-UK trade, the early 2024 numbers, they paint a bit of a different picture. It's like when you're on a roller coaster and you hit that peak and you know the only way to go is
Down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Both Danish imports from and exports to the UK dipped in the first part of 2024 compared to the same time the year before.
Right.
We're talking a 1.1% decrease in exports and then a much bigger 9.2% drop in imports. So is this just a blip after that big 2023 surge, or is it something to be worried about?
It's something to watch, for sure. I don't think it's time to panic just yet, though.
Yeah.
Remember, it's a really short time frame we're looking at here.
Yeah.
It's like trying to figure out a whole movie, but just watching the first scene,
Yeah.
you know? You get glimpses, but you don't have the full picture.
It's true. When things feel kind of uncertain in the wider economy, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
A bit like stepping off that roller coaster onto, like, shaky ground.
Yeah,
Makes sense that trade would get a little, well, choppy when the bigger picture's so wobbly.
exactly. And, those impressive numbers we saw in 2023,
Yeah.
some of that could have been, well, temporary things.
Like maybe there was this sudden need for certain products from Denmark in the UK that year, and then it kind of leveled out. Or, maybe it was businesses just rushing to adjust after Brexit.
So it's like that post-roller coaster sugar rush things eventually settle back down to a normal level of, well, I guess excitement in this case.
Right, exactly.
Which, I mean, in international trade is probably a good thing.
Probably.
But for someone like you who's really interested in seeing where this all goes, Danish-UK trade, what should we be paying attention to in the next reports that come out? What are the things to really watch?
Oh, that's a great question. And it gets to why this stuff, economic data is actually really interesting. One thing is, look at those bigger economic trends. Things like how confident consumers are in both countries, or how much stuff factories are churning out.
That gives you a sense of the overall economic mood.
Right.
And it can help you guess whether those coming 24 dips, whether they'll continue or turn around.
So it's like checking the economic weather forecast before you set sail on the trade winds.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, we've covered a lot in this deep dive, haven't we?
We have.
We started with just your curiosity about Danish-UK trade after Brexit, stumbled straight into this 75.8% export boom. We saw how Denmark's practically a pharmaceutical powerhouse.
That's impressive. Yeah.
Right? We unpacked those mysteries of like why both countries are trading oil back and forth,
Right.
and even found some pretty eye-popping investment figures. Who knew that what seems like a really dry report could have so many twists and turns?
It's amazing what you find when you just start digging a little, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the best part is, this is like one little slice of the global trade pie.
Imagine if one country's report can tell us this much.
Yeah.
Think of all the other stories out there.
It makes you kind of want to apply for a job as like a economic detective. But no,
Yeah.
This has been seriously interesting. It really has. So I think the big takeaway here is next time you see one of these super dense reports,
Yeah.
don't just see the numbers. Think about the story behind them, the forces shaping them, and
Okay.
what it all means going ahead. Because for every percentage point, every trade deal, there's a whole world of connections there just waiting to be discovered.